I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. With us a brand new guest. His name is Kevin Shipp. He's a former CIA intelligence officer. He wrote this very popular book back in 2012. It's been a bestseller a couple of times on Amazon. Very popular book. It's From the Company of Shadows is the name of the book. This is just a cover art. It's 245, 250 pages long. He's got that book still out in print. Fascinating book. And I'll just read you a little bit about the upcoming guest. Kevin Shipp, former CIA intelligence officer and also a counterterrorism expert, held several high-level positions in the CIA. His assignments included protective agent for the director of the CIA. That's a big deal. Counterintelligence investigator searching for moles in the CIA as well. That's just a small part of his resume. Let me bring on former CIA agent Kevin Shipp. Also, I just wanted to say that you're starting a new website for the loveoffreedom.net, for the loveoffreedom.net. And you've got some of your speeches, riveting speeches about what's going on in the background with our government and our intelligence agency. Kevin Shipp, thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me on.
I'm sorry for the long intro, but you got a big career and I got a lot of stuff and, just fascinating guy. I wanted to start with this, what's going on with the president. I mean, I had Edward Klein on, who wrote the book, All-Out Attack on Trump. Basically, it was about an all-out attack on Trump, that they're out to get him. Are they out to get Donald Trump, especially with this crazy dossier? Let's start there. The dossier, where he supposedly was over in Russia, and they call it the P dossier, which is gross, all untrue. They're trying to use this to get Trump, and it looks like the FBI and members of the FBI and members of the Department of Justice basically hatched this plan to take him down. Is that right? Tell us about it.
Yes, let's break this down. As a former counterintelligence officer, this is just shocking. If you break it all down, what happened was the DNC paid somewhere in the neighborhood of $12 million to a former, if there is such a thing, British intelligence officer, Christopher Steele, to gather information from second and third party sources. But it turns out these sources were Russian intelligence officials. So they gathered information from paid Russian intelligence officials. John McCain acted as the courier, had it couriered back to the FBI and to the CIA, presented it to both of them. John Brennan leaked the information, calling it intelligence. The FBI, it looks like, used the information to get their FISA warrants to do the spying via the NSA on the Trump cabinet and transition team. So while the FBI colluded on the inside to cover up Hillary's crimes, really, and then go after the Trump collusion narrative. So this is shocking, probably, I think, one of the most shocking internal events of an internal attack on the president, maybe since JFK, I don't know, but it's very serious.
I'm stunned that you could wrap that up so succinctly. And, a lot of people are going to go to jail over this, are they not? I mean, Trump has turned the tide, if I'm getting this right, and they are on the run. Is that correct?
Yes. Oh, they're terrified. Yeah. They are terrified right now. They did not expect Trump to do what he's doing when he came inside. The reason they've been trying to get him even before he was elected is they knew he was uncontrollable, impartial, and if he got in there, they wouldn't be able to manipulate him. And that's exactly what's happening. And there are some people, no doubt about it, running scared right now, not just because of the dossier, but obviously other things that have happened now that Trump and hopefully Sessions as well are looking into these things. This is serious. It could result in somewhat of a constitutional crisis.
Well, and what do you mean by that?
You've got the FBI and the Department of Justice conspiring against a sitting president of the United States, and before that, a president elect. You have FBI agents writing fraudulent affidavits to get NSA FISA warrants to spy on a political opponent, in this case of Hillary Clinton, things that are an unbelievable abuse of power by the secret parts of our government.
And Comey, when you say the FBI, there's a lot of rank and file people that have got to be holding their nose over this. They got to hate this. There's got to be people in the CIA. They go, "Do what? You're doing what?" There has to be. They can't all be doing that.
No. And what I worked a lot with FBI agents when I was handling espionage cases and CIA officers, and I worked with some tremendous, wonderful FBI agents and CIA officers This sort of darkness and garbage doesn't happen until you get up into the supervisory levels and the high levels. That's where this dark stuff goes on. The people down at lower levels are good, hardworking law enforcement men and women, intelligence professionals, most of them very good people. This stuff goes on up at the higher levels.
This is signaling that Comey's going to go to jail over this. Am I wrong?
Yeah, he should. He covered up an espionage crimes on behalf of Hillary Clinton. He leaked information intentionally to the news media about his discussions with the President of the United States. And, Comey goes all the way back to sitting on the board of Lockheed Martin, which is one of the surveillance companies used by the U.S. government. He received $6 million a year there. He was on the board of HSBC Bank, which is laundering money from Central America. I mean, James Comey goes back in the deep state and the shadow government for decades and has been connected to Hillary Clinton. So he's just being the same leopard with the same spots.
The Mueller investigation, and I've heard from one of my sources that Mueller is basically just doing a show investigation, but to me it seems like he's out to get Trump. I mean, the whole thing is that he loaded up with all these anti-Trump people, and I don't mean to sound like Fox News, but my gosh, there's not a fair-minded person in the bunch. And if somebody was fair-minded, they'd look at this and go, "Wow, this is a fake dossier. We're doing an investigation on what?" I mean, is Mueller? Does he stink to high heaven here? I mean, he allowed Uranium-1 to go through it, and to this day, might I add, we have not heard from the informant that had a 6-year undercover track record, knowing all about this. We haven't heard from them. That person hasn't testified. Doesn't Mueller stink on? Isn't that treason? Didn't he let the Russians have Uranium-1?
Oh, he was part of the committee, and he approved it. Yes, he was there when it happened. He approved it happening. They all claimed that none of the uranium left the United States, but in reality it did. Some of it even went to Asia. Who knows where else it went? And that could be considered treasonous. And let's remember too that it was Robert Mueller who presided over after 9/11 the new FBI warrantless search program, where they broke into Americans' houses without a warrant. He lied under oath 3 times, said they'd only done it 47 times. Well, they presented more evidence. I think they got him up to 200. Eventually, they got him up to 4,000 times the FBI had broken into Americans' houses without a warrant. And finally, they asked him, listen, can you give us the real number? And his response was, amazingly, he could not remember how many times the FBI had broken into an American's house without a warrant. That is the same Robert Mueller.
But he was the head of the FBI when they had this investigation, racketeering, espionage by the Russians, money laundering, multiple crimes documented by this source that has yet to testify in front of Congress. I mean, doesn't he stink on this?
Yes. He was part of the approval process, and he would have been, the FBI counterintelligence unit would have been all over this thing, probably was all over this thing. Any deal that the U.S. government, especially the FBI or the CIA, does with the Russians, the counterintelligence people in the FBI and the CIA are going to be all over that thing, because Russia is one of our top espionage enemies. There is no doubt about the fact that it not only was the FBI, but it was their legal responsibility to be monitoring every step of that Uranium-1 deal. So they knew everything about it, and that goes all the way up to the director of the FBI, because it's a big case, and that would be Robert Mueller.
Let's get into motivation. Why were they motivated to go after Trump? It's not just political views that there are a bunch of Democrats in the Department of Justice and the FBI. I mean, is it because they committed so many crimes? We just know about Uranium-1. We know about that. Is it because they committed so many crimes that once somebody would come in, it was uncontrollable, as you say, that they could all go to jail? So what's a few more, we unmasked some people and we committed some more obstruction of justice and some more felonies, and we exonerated Hillary Clinton. I mean, what's a few more felonies if you're going to go to jail anyway? And you might what's the motivation here? Am I wrong?
No, I think you're absolutely right. And the talks that I give are on the shadow government, which is the secret agencies of our government that function outside the Constitution. They do things without the knowledge of Congress. They engage in unconstitutional activity all the time. That would be the CIA and the NSA and the FBI. And they have got a lot of skeletons in the closet. When they heard that Donald Trump was even getting close to running. The former directors of the CIA, James Clapper, Michael Hayden, all came out, started calling him names, a useful fool, and other things that former directors of the agency never have done. Once he got in, now they're terrified because there are a lot of skeletons in the closet at the FBI, at the CIA, illegal things that they have done. And they are terrified that Trump is going to be the first president since JFK that's going to start digging into some of these things and finding some of these skeletons. And if that were to happen, there would be some major hearings and some people probably would go to jail and probably should go to jail.
I hear that he is well protected in Washington and in New York. When he's in New York, he's got his own private security detail, and also the military is totally behind him. Am I wrong? Is he protected?
He is. He was smart when he came in. He retained his own personal protective detail plus the Secret Service, which was really smart. And then he's got the military, too. He's probably one of the best protected presidents to date because he's got some private guys around him, too, that aren't connected into the government. So no question about it.
Let's talk about his order on the 21st of December that the mainstream media is completely ignoring.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had trolls on the site saying, well, they only listed 13 people. It's not what you say it is. I said, you didn't read anybody that helped, that anybody they deem? I mean, tell me about his it's human trafficking and corruption. I mean, even corruption in government contracts, corruption in bribes. Is it just the 13 people listed in the annex, or is it a huge, sweeping order that can put a lot of people in jail and confiscate a lot of assets?
Well, you have to remember that it builds on the original human trafficking legislation that targets any individual in the United States that traffics in persons. It builds on that. So it's legislation that goes on top of that. But what people are missing, like any executive order, you have to read it very, very carefully. And Donald Trump very wisely starts out calling it a threat to U.S. national security. That one term brings in the U.S. military, the U.S. intelligence agencies, domestic law enforcement, and the whole U.S. law enforcement force into enforcing these laws. And the amazing thing about the executive order is now it extends to foreign persons, foreign organizations, and even foreign government officials. So this is a national security threat, which means it includes anyone inside the United States or outside the United States. And it's put into place RICO-like investigations now of foreign persons or any U.S. persons that try to flee to a foreign country to escape human rights trafficking criminal charges.
This is basically what Donald Trump has done, is declared war on the deep state. Am I wrong?
Yes, I agree. Yes, I think he has.
Tell me about it. Tell me about the declaration of war.
Well, he talked about that before he was elected. That's why they're so afraid. He talked about the illegal use of warrantless wiretapping and spying by the NSA. He talked about some of the past actions of the CIA. He talked about the CIA withholding JFK documents, which they still are, by the way. He talked about looking into all these things, and I differentiate between the shadow government and the deep state. The shadow government are the secret intelligence agencies that have such power of secrecy that they act even without the knowledge of Congress in many things that they do with impunity. Then there's the deep state, which is the military-industrial complex, all of the industrial corporation lobbyists, and kind of the money, power, and greed behind Washington that give all the contributions to the senators and congressmen. So they're connected, but they're really two different entities. In my mind, it is the shadow government, the secret apparatus of our government, specifically the CIA, that is going after Donald Trump because it is terrified that some of its dealings are going to be exposed. If they are, it could jeopardize the entire organization.
Mike Pompeo said that there is no deep state in the CIA. He recently said that there is no deep state in the CIA. You were in the CIA. Is he telling the truth? And is he a good guy or a bad guy? First of all, is Pompeo a good guy or a bad guy? And is he telling the truth? There's no deep state in the CIA.
First of all, I think Mike Pompeo is a good guy, and I think he was a really good selection for that post. My understanding, he's a good, straight, honest man and has been throughout his career, so I thought he was a tremendous appointment to that position. I don't know, there was some talk of moving Pompeo over to Secretary of State eventually, and there's been some sources and reporting that have come out saying that the CIA has been watching its own director, that they've been up in the director of operations, been kind of surveilling Pompeo, afraid that he's going to start looking into the CIA director of operations on behalf of Trump. So the CIA has been watching its own director. Mike Pompeo, bless his heart, has got a huge problem on his hands. Can he crack into the covert operations of the CIA? That's the big question. I know they're terrified that he's going to do that, but I don't think he'll ever make that personally. But I think he's a good guy. I think the CIA has a lot of shadow government, deep state things it has to hide, going all the way back to its creation in 1947. The question is, are they going to let Pompeo in to see that stuff or not? I say probably not.
Is he the director, though? Can't he just say, I want to see this stuff?
He can, but they don't have to show it to him.
I mean, I don't understand that.
That's the level of corruption with inside the CIA. You go over to the director of operations, and you have got. I've heard one person say people maybe one level above a snake, and if it means their career or jail, kind of like the Iran-Contra affair, they are going to keep their mouth shut. They're not going to tell anyone, including their director, including Mike Pompeo. We'll see if he's able to crack the code and get down inside the CIA. I'll be pretty surprised. In my view, they're going to try to find some dirt on him, breaching classified information, taking classified information home by mistake, or some other infraction. They're going to try to corner him on to get him out of there. That's just my opinion.
Oh, that's some serious stuff. JFK, inside job, or was it just Lee Harvey Oswald, the lone gunman?
JFK, and it's funny you should mention that because I've got some discussions this afternoon about some information there. If you look at JFK, if you look at it from a criminal investigation standpoint, the Warren Commission report stinks. Not only does it stink, it looks like it was done by a high school student, the questions that were asked and things. And if you remember, Allen Dulles had connections to the mafia, which both John F. Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy had uncovered. They were about to bust him on that. JFK made the statement he was going to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces. And then he fired Allen Dulles, one of the darkest figures in our history, responsible for torture, rendition, working with the Nazis, smuggling Nazis into the United States. This was the director of the CIA. Kennedy fired him. So Allen Dulles became his bitter enemy. Then Allen Dulles formed a cabal of former senior CIA officers who worked and met regularly to work against and stop the policies of John F. Kennedy, the President of the United States. Then Kennedy was assassinated, and guess who they put in charge of the Warren Commission and what CIA officers are going to testify? Allen Dulles becomes in charge of the investigation, of which he had a motive to be a part of the actual activity. So yes, I think they were involved, and they're still holding on to over 2,300 pages, the CIA is, of the JFK report that they will not release.
My thing as a simple reporter is that you want me to believe the Warren Commission. Okay, first of all, release it all unredacted because there'd be a lot of questions. Second of all, let's see the autopsy photos. The only president to be shot in the head since Lincoln. I know you got the photos, and dozens, if not hundreds, of photos. Let's see the autopsy photos. Let's see them all.
Yeah,
but they lost them, or they don't have them, or they won't release them, or whatever. The dog ate my homework, or whatever.
Exactly. If they won't, it's like the CIA torture tapes. First they said, "Oh well, we lost them. We can't find them." Now right off the bat they're guilty. Right off the bat they're lying. If they lost the X-rays of the assassination of the President of the United States, that is a lie from the get-go. That proves that there is something to those X-rays. If they're pulling, there's no question about that at all.
I want to go on to questions about there's, and I have you up here, and it's been very hard to get good sourcing of these. There's QAnon and Meganon and all these people, and they may be giving good information. I don't know, but it's an anonymous source, and you're not anonymous. You're a former CIA person. There was a story out about how the Marines went and raided the CIA in Langley. Did that happen? Do you know of it? Do you have any sourcing on that? Did that happen?
It's not true. No.
It did not happen.
Did not happen.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about Trump. Is he winning? Does he have a plan, do you think, to win, which is he's going to go after their assets, bribery, corruption? I thought that was amazing. Just corruption, any corruption, contracts, bribes. But can he go after these weasels that are not only corrupt, but they're pedophiles?
Yes. Well, as we all know, there is an international pedophile ring that has included members of governments, the governments in the UK, members.
Oh, wait, no, we all stop, Kevin. I'm sorry. We all don't know that. Normal people who are watching this are hearing this for the first time. They're not sitting there going, "Oh yeah. We know there's a big ring of pedophiles in every government." No, we don't know that. I don't mean to, I'm not giving you a hard time.
Sure.
So first of all, let's start with that point. So you, as a former intelligence officer, you're saying that every major Western government or every government on the planet has rings of pedophiles at the top?
I am saying there have been in the UK without a doubt. There are elite businessmen and corporations that are being served by these pedophile rings. It reaches into Hollywood. You remember Dennis Hastert, the third most powerful man?
Yeah.
The majority leader was convicted of being a serial child molester. This pedophile ring goes all the way to Jeffrey Epstein's plane, and all the trips. He was convicted of pedophilia, sentenced and put in jail for that. He has a list of all the people that rode his plane with these underage girls on it.
Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton was on that plane 21 times.
Yeah, not a word about that for Oprah. Oprah, 2020. How about the Clintons? I mean, and the mainstream press won't even cover it.
No, it would be death to their career. I don't know if you remember, a very, very good reporter by the name of Ben Swan did just an initial report on this pedophile thing and the so-called Pizzagate, and just asked for an investigation, laid out what was known so far. And he was taken completely off his Facebook and Twitter pages and disappeared for several months, and now has been put at kind of a second-level job. The network kept him, but he was completely silenced. And he was one of the better investigative reporters in my view. So to come out against this sort of thing publicly is career suicide or worse, because these pedophile rings are well-funded. It is as big in terms of the money it makes in traffics as the drug industry. Some people think it's bigger than the narcotics industry. So you have some hugely powerful players that exist in governments, and some of us think stretch into Washington, and perhaps some blackmail rings within the U.S. government itself, perhaps even the Congress and the Senate. That's just conjecture, but knowing the magnitude of the money involved in this thing, cases like Dennis Hastert and others, and I think that Donald Trump is well aware of the size of this network, and that's why he issued this executive order going after the financial side of these things, not just busting the pedophiles, but going after the massive multi-billion-dollar syndicates that they have for human trafficking to take the whole thing down. So this executive order is dramatic.
This is actually you can't just read the executive order by itself. So people understand this, because the trolls are out saying there's only 13 people on it, and you're saying no. This goes along with the legislation already been there. This is inside, outside the U.S. This is anybody helping. This is domestic or foreign, and the reason why he said it was a national threat is so he could use the military.
Boom.
So that's huge.
Exactly. Yes, and the U.S. military inside and outside the United States, as soon as he called it a threat to national security, that was the operative code word, which brings the military into action against these syndicates within the United States and without the United States. Any syndicate like this that threatens the national security of the United States.
That's a bright play. So this will probably put to the end to the troll comments that this wasn't a big deal. How can the mainstream press, let's talk about that, because you're an intelligence officer. You must know all about propaganda. You must know all about, narratives and false narratives. The press won't even bring this up. They had Steve Mnuchin this past week in a press conference said, could you talk about the executive order that the president signed on the 21st of December calling human trafficking and corruption a national security issue, that they're going to take down, that some of these same people can take down the financial system? Not a word. What
No.
are these people bought off?
The news media has been silent. There have been thousands of arrests of pedophiles, children rescued. Just in 2017 alone, thousands of raids and arrests of pedophile rings, and the press has been largely silent. They've been silent about this executive order. Remember, these syndicates are multi-billion-dollar syndicates that reach all the way into the news media conglomerates and corporations. And I'm convinced that the editors of the news media don't want to touch this, because if they do, they're touching some of the members at the higher levels of their corporations.
Oh, boy, that's huge. Just the latest thing this past week, and I just think this is outrageous. Of course, the press, they don't give a source for this. And they say that Donald Trump called some foreign country I'll just say it, shithole. Trump calls it fake news. What's going on with that?
In the first place, who cares if that's what he said? If a president uses profanity here and there, like we all do, of course, the press wants to make it a big deal. The president used profanity. I don't think it's a big deal. Even if he did say it, it just shows his passion for the subject. But the press is going to take it and blow it way out of proportion. And whether he said it or not doesn't bother me in the least. But, of course, the press is going to use that to try to make him look like this profane, foul-mouthed president. You look at other presidents, and I know because I've worked with some Secret Service guys. Hillary Clinton has a foul mouth based on the Secret Service guys I've talked to, more than any first lady that's ever put her 2 feet inside the White House. But you didn't hear any news reports about that. So I just think this is just a bunch of huff and puff.
Is this a sign of desperation when they're coming up with this? The president denies it. I find it hard to believe he'd sit in a room full of senators and call Haiti a shithole. I find that hard to believe. And he knows half the people in the room are out after him. I mean, Lindsey Graham, that's not his friend. Jeff Flake, I don't think he was there, but that's not his friend. None of these, half the people, even the Republicans, all the Democrats aren't, but even the Republicans aren't his friend. I find it hard to believe he's that stupid, and he's not that stupid.
Well, he's a businessman. He's been in high-level business meetings for most of his life. Do you think he's going to talk like that in a business meeting, when there's millions of dollars on the table? Of course he's not going to do that. Why would he do that in a cabinet meeting or a meeting with congressmen or senators? So, just based on his past history, you don't think he's that type of person, especially in that setting at all.
Fake news. And is this a play by the press to continue to try to destroy him? What's up with the press? Is there something more than they're just a bunch of Democrats and they hate Trump? Or is it they're trying to protect their bosses from Trump being successful?
Well, the editors, all the way down to the reporters, are trying to protect their bosses. Remember, 6 conglomerates own the entire news media now. And so you've got maybe 20 CEOs that are running our entire major press. And they're connected into these corporations. They're bound by these corporations. They're bound to report what these corporations tell them to do. And these are Wall Street companies tied directly into what we refer to as the deep state money machine in Washington. Nobody's going to offend that machine. Nobody's going to go after that. Enter Donald Trump, who's questioning the deep state and the shadow government. He's rocking that place left and right, and the news media is terrified of that. Their editors are telling them to attack him, just like they are attacking him from the inside. And then again, you've got some folks in the news media that are just shy of being Marxists anyway. So a lot of them have an ideological perspective that they can't help, but it's just dirty pool against a president that they want taken out because they see him threatening their editors and even their corporations.
And you're an expert on the deep state. You're an expert on shadow governments. Is Trump making headway? Give people something to hold on to here, and if you don't, don't make it up. Don't lie, and I don't think you would. But is the Trumpster making headway? I mean, with all the negative junk going on, is he making headway? Is he winning? Does he have allies, and is he making headway?
Yes, I'll give you a prime example. When Trump was elected, I told my wife, I said, we'll find out whether he gets co-opted like other presidents by the shadow government, deep state, or not. And how we're going to know is if he continues supporting the Islamic Free Syrian Army's attack against Syria, and the Free Syrian Army, most people don't know, have gone into entire Christian villages and massacred everybody in the village. This is the Free Syrian Army, trained and paid for by the CIA from the Obama administration. And I told my wife, I said, we'll see what Trump does about the Free Syrian Army, because not only is most of that done without Congress knowing about it, 500,000 Syrian civilians have already died because of this mess. What did Trump do? He just removed funding for the Free Syrian Army, just yanked it away. And I looked at my wife and I said, boom. So maybe this guy is legitimate. Maybe he is making progress. And I think he is. The release of the JFK documents, of course, was more of a time factor. I am still waiting for him to press the CIA to release the remainder of the 2,300. But to answer your question, yes, Trump is making progress, despite tremendous resistance. He's in there and he's fighting. They've already done a character assassination on him, and they continue to do that. I think they'd even go farther than that personally. I think his life is in danger. But he is making progress. He's got them running. He's scared. He put Mike Pompeo in the CIA, and Pompeo is an honest man. I hope he can do some good there. He's doing a lot of very good things, and I think the deep state and shadow government is terrified. So I am very encouraged, frankly, by what Donald Trump has been able to accomplish, despite the mess that he's in the middle of.
He must have known this when he went in. He must have known what he was going to, with the tiger, that he was going to grab by the tail. He must have known that.
I don't think so. I don't think he knew the level.
Oh, the level.
The control and the power and the hostility. I don't think he knew it until he got in there. I really don't. I didn't. Most people don't realize how deep it is, and I don't think he did until he got in there. And now, of course, he's seeing that they're literally trying to take him out.
He's going to fight. He's fighting back though with this executive order. So he's to the point where either he shrinks away and bows down to him. And I don't think he's that kind of a person.
Oh.
Or he just goes to war with him. You're saying he's gone to war. Are there going to be mass arrests and military tribunals with this?
The potential, based on the people I've talked to, the potential is a possible constitutional crisis involving some of our government officials involved in these trafficking rings, not to mention those in some other countries. They've been arresting their lower-level pedophiles by the thousands. If you go in and look at the cases in 2017 alone, Sessions and Trump just began a sweep across the country, starting to arrest the little players in these things. And then he issues this executive order, which is huge, and takes it into the foreign arena. And of course, he appointed Ivanka as one of her things she's overseeing is human trafficking. And then, of course, I think it was Scalia came out and made his big speech about cracking down on him before he was shot at the baseball field. Trump is shocking this entire pedophile network, and as I mentioned, it's a syndicate, and its funding is as big, maybe bigger than the narcotics industry. These are big, powerful, high-level people that he's confronting with these things, and it has made him a primary target, I can tell you.
Whew. That is, we're going to leave it right there, Kevin. I mean, I want you to come back and to straighten some things out. But some of what you're seeing on 4chan or the new, the message boards, Mega Anon, the going forward, this stuff, some of this stuff seems, you can say, with your sourcing and your background, is real. We have a war going on with the Trump administration, and it looks like the Trump, am I getting this right? The Trump administration, the military, some members of the FBI, some members of the CIA going after this deep state and the evil people. Am I getting that right?
Absolutely. It's kind of like a Cold War within Washington, D.C. between Donald Trump, his administration, and the shadow government and the deep state, without a doubt.
And the military is on his side.
Military's on his side, you bet.
Wow, woe be the people. I've been in the Pentagon one time, and I asked people, have you been in the Pentagon? No. You can drive a car through the Pentagon. If there's no people in there, you can drive a car probably 50 miles an hour around the Pentagon.
I'm a big supporter of the military. Oh, yeah, you bet.
The power of the country is in the Pentagon, not the CIA.
Yep, that's right.
It's at the Pentagon. And that's what Flynn's all about, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Flynn was the head of the DIA. Well, what they did to him was a crime. I mean, this guy's
it's criminal. Yeah, they committed a crime. What they did to him was criminal. Yes.
These guys, these guys in the Mueller. Well, I don't know. Mueller maybe, but Comey and Lynch and Holder and Strzok and Rosenstein, McCabe. These all people could be possibly be living together in a nice tight close quarters with bars in the windows, right?
Yes, and you can add Hillary Rodham Clinton to that list. Yes.
They're not going to let. Are they going to let her go, or are they going to go after her?
I don't see how they can let her go. She violated the espionage statute multiple times. What Comey did was cover for her crimes. I don't see how she can go free. I don't see how they can do it. They have to prosecute her. And then you have the Clinton Foundation and the money laundering investigations going on there now. I don't see how they can't prosecute her. If they don't, you've got the biggest breach of criminal justice laws in U.S. history. I think eventually they probably will.
I've been saying for years she has a global charity fraud. I mean, I summed up her thing was that you had private servers unprotected to cover up the fact you were taking treasonous bribes to a global charity fraud called the Clinton Foundation. I mean, does that wrap it up?
Yes, I think you're right, yes.
I mean, there's no way that she can have this Clinton Foundation collecting these billions of dollars. I mean, they collected $4 billion for Haiti for the earthquake, and they gave them peanuts. There's no way that they could be doing this without lots of people in the deep state in on this deal, right?
That's right. And as a matter of fact, one of their chief program managers in Haiti was arrested and incarcerated for child trafficking, by the way. And I think she's in jail now. But yes, they were laundering money through the Clinton Foundation. And if you remember, when the Department of Justice started looking at the Clinton Foundation shut itself down in 24 hours, closed their office, and dismissed their staff in 24 hours. They shut the whole thing down, probably burning documents and shredding everything in sight. So they shut it down that quickly as soon as they thought knew they were under investigation.
Oh my gosh! So the Clinton Foundation is no more.
No, they closed the office.
When did that happen?
Oh God, I think that was just shy of a year ago.
They did close it. Well, they were making out they were doing stories where no, it's still going on. Oh, it's still no. That you're saying that the Clinton Foundation we knew of is gone.
Gone.
And the final question is, and I just want to get you this: should we be hopeful? Should America be hopeful that some good is going to come in, and that the powers of good are going to defeat these evil weasels?
I think so. Look at what's happening. They tried to nail Donald Trump. And this is kind of what the evil or the wicked do. They will try to accuse someone else of what they're doing. So they tried to accuse Donald Trump of colluding with Russia because that's what they've been doing since Uranium One. All of a sudden, this has backfired with this dossier, and the facts are coming out, and the FBI is in a whole lot of trouble because of it now. These could be fraudulent affidavits presented to the FISA court, illegal surveillance, and on and on and on. So yeah, good's coming out of it already. It's backfiring. This is called blowback. It's backfiring on them badly, and Trump he's remained strong, and now all this is coming out, and it's backfiring on them badly.
Well, this means the whole Mueller investigation was based on a huge lie.
That's right.
So, is he going to come clean someday and say, "Hey, this is based on a huge lie. This dossier is a crime. We're going to retract the charges for Flynn and all these other people"?
If he's an honest man, my understanding is he's a prosecution hound. That his goal, and this is largely the case many times with FBI management, his goal is to prosecute, and if he fails to prosecute, he's failed his case. So he's on this thing like a hound dog. I don't think he's going to give it up.
So you don't think he's working with Trump at all?
I do not know. I think he's being Robert Mueller, the bulldog prosecutor that's going after this thing for his own reputation as being that way, and he's not going to give it up unless he has to, because if he does not find anything, it's not going to make him look good. I think it's more Robert Mueller and his own character, personality, and the way he's done business for years that's driving what he's doing.
Can't he go to jail for the Uranium One deal? If he had an investigation and he knew it was espionage and Russians and money laundering and racketeering and extortion, and he knew all that, and couldn't he go to jail for this changing to Russian hands?
Well, you would think so, but have we seen a shadow government deep stater go to jail yet? The chances of that would be pretty slim. And then, of course, you'd have to prove intent. You'd have to go through probably a 5, 6, 7, 8 year trial to prove that he did it.
Breaking.
And on and on and on we go. So no, I doubt that's going to happen. But he was there. He approved it. He knew about it. The FBI knew about it. They knew the Russians were involved, and they let it happen anyway.
Kevin Shipp, your website, just for people to know, I'll link to the website at the end, fortheloveoffreedom.net, fortheloveoffreedom.net. He's going to be putting more stuff on it. It's just a brand new website. You'll find this book cover, art cover. I just have the art cover. I don't actually have the book. I just wanted to promote it. Very popular book on Amazon. It's been out since 2012. I'm sure there's been a couple of printings of it. Take a look at it. You can find it on the front page of the website. I know you're offline in somewhere in the in the southeastern portion of the United States, and this is why things look the way they do, and maybe the lip sync's off a little bit and things like that. But Kevin, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. I hope you come back.
Hey, Greg, thanks. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.